Welcome to the Black Entrepreneur Experience podcast, inside the business, buzz, and brilliance of Black entrepreneurs. Here's your host, Dr. Frances Richards.
What happens in Vegas goes all over the world on Black Entrepreneur Experience, episode number 246. Subscribe to our mailing list to receive weekly updates and exclusive content delivered right to your inbox. Go to drfrancesrichards.com. That's drfrancesrichards.com to subscribe to our mailing list and be entered into our monthly drawing. That's drfrancesrichards.com, drfrancesrichards.com to subscribe to our mailing list and be entered into our monthly drawing. We promise we won't spam you or sell your information. Thank you for joining us as we elevate the Black entrepreneur experience by interviewing CEOs, thought leaders, innovative thinkers, and Black entrepreneurs across the globe. I'm your host, Dr. Frances Richards. Our next guest is the founder of a news app built by Black engineers for a Black-owned nonprofit featuring only Black news publishers. Welcome, Adrian LeRoy Devezin, founder of Empowr News. Adrian, I've given our audience such a brief bio. Why don't you fill in the gaps and share with our audience what you'd like them to know about you and your business?
Thank you. Thank you for that. Thank you for also even bringing up the news app as part of our sustainability program. Creating apps and services for the community is a big part and it's a passion of mine because I want to eventually just put right now I have a 9-to-5 still doing software development, but eventually I want to be able to, just focus on creating, apps and services for the Black community that help uplift the community. So that was the first step into that. Yeah. So a little bit about myself. I kind of had a different sort of life growing up. My dad being military, grew up overseas. So I got to spend middle school in Japan, high school in Italy. Yeah. And while in those countries, we, traveled to neighboring countries. So I really got to see the world in a pretty amazing way at a young age. Yeah, one of the things that I really just loved about all that was just basically the community. No matter where we went, I noticed they always had such strong community foundations. When we were in, Malaysia, it seemed like, I couldn't understand what everybody was always saying, but it seemed like they all really knew each other. And, regardless of if they had much or they had little, everybody was smiling, laughing. That's one of the biggest things I remember, in addition to the amazing food. And then as well in Italy, everything was family owned, mom and pop shops. Everybody knew each other. Everybody helped each other. So what I learned from that was you didn't have to have much to be happy, and that working together as a community, that was really the foundation for everything. And everywhere we went was community. And so that was a pretty eye-opening experience, just being able to, see that at such a young age.
That's beautiful.
And then, after high school, I went to Florida for college, or I should say to attend college. It was interesting. I didn't really feel like, maybe if I went to a different school, probably an HBCU, I would have had a better experience. I didn't really feel like I belonged so much in that school for a myriad of reasons. But I ended up switching. I started out as computer science, and then I ended up switching to accounting simply because it was easier, not because I wanted to do it. And then maybe a year after that, I just dropped out. It wasn't working well for me. My dad had given me his GI Bill, but it was up. So I was like, I really don't want to take out loans to do this, to be somewhere I didn't want to be. So I ended up working retail jobs. Basically, you name it. I worked at fast food, Walmart. Then I ended up working in a payday loan place. And then finally a call center was my big step up. I was really excited, actually. And just at the call center, just taking calls. It was one that really stood out to me. It was this guy, he called in, his truck had broke, and he needed to take it to the dealership. He was like, I don't want to pay the $160 diagnostic fee. I was like, well, we don't have any control of dealerships. They're privately owned, so I can't really help you out in that scenario. He'll just have to take it to the dealer and, get it diagnosed. And the guy literally berated me with a bunch of just horrible words, claiming, his truck cost $80,000. He had the full King Ranch, and he just chose to just demean me because I couldn't get him off on $160. And so I really just thought about it while he was just going at me that I really don't want to be here. This is not what I want to do with my life. I wouldn't be able to stand another phone call like this and be happy. So, I thought back to when I really wanted to be a software engineer when I first went to college. And I decided I was going to be it regardless. My teachers didn't make me feel like I could be it, but I was going to prove them wrong. And so downloaded this app called Aid on the Android store. Back then, it was way cheaper than it is now. I heard they have a bunch of in-app purchases now. But I started teaching myself development in between calls. So I just had little tutorials and I would just complete them between every call or while a customer was yelling at me on a call. And by doing that, I was just learning a lot. And eventually I was like, all right, well, I should just try and build an app. I was really into Bitcoin at the time. I didn't own any. I couldn't afford any. I was just really into what it could do. And so I tried to create a way to earn Bitcoin. And I ended up creating the largest Bitcoin faucet by payouts. And it got to be the top new finance app of the month. I was ecstatic because this is like this thing that I learned how to make on my phone. I programmed half of it on my phone. Then I finally got my computer up and running. I was able to finish programming the rest and put it on the store. It was pretty amazing. It was not well written, obviously, because I just learned how to program, and it got hacked a couple months later. And, I couldn't recoup funds because I worked at a call center, so it just had to go. But that was so assuring to know that, like, I really just fought with banks to get this top new finance app of the month spot, and I did it. So I just kept teaching it to myself for like 3 years. Every year when I got home from my 9 to 5, whatever I was doing, I was spending another 8 hours teaching myself the program. I was looking at every available resource I could find. Just looking at online tutorials, looking at, I can't remember if Stanford or Princeton that has a link to some of their information that they give students. I was reading those. Anything I could find, I was reading and doing so I could teach myself a software development. Yeah, I ended up going to Tennessee, partly because I had nowhere else to go. And after I lost my job, and partly because it was a developer boot camp. But it was mainly because they put their developers in a hotel and I needed a place to stay. But that was definitely heaven sent because so I lose my place, I lose my job. I'm a mess at this point. I have nowhere to go. I sold everything I own except for what will fit in my car. And then I just happened to get this email from this random lady in Tennessee. I have no idea how she found me. She's like, hey, we have a developer boot camp. Are you interested? I apply and I get it. They said they had thousands of applicants and they only select 20. So that was, pretty amazing to me. I go just because I'm like, yes, I now have a place to stay, right? But I get there, I complete the whole program, I make it through cuts, I come down to stay with my aunt in Atlanta, and I'm emailing the people. They say they'll get you a job within 2 months if you complete their boot camp. All of a sudden, they never said that. I'm messaging other students to be like, hey, didn't they say this? And they're like, yeah, they said they'll get us a job for 2 months, but they're telling us, they never said that, and they don't know where we heard that. And so I was like, forget it. I put my resume up. I applied to this IT job, totally fake it through the interview. Just said I knew stuff I didn't know. And then just went home and Googled all the words. and then I got the job. It was entry level, so it was easy enough just to Google. So I got the job and basically just learned everything on the job, which is really cool. And it was an amazing company in Norcross, and I loved being there. The whole work atmosphere was awesome. And it was my first time having something that could lead to a full career. This other software development company hit me up. I ended up leaving that job to work for them. That job was a total scam. I didn't even get paid. They just would send out my resume to big companies with a bunch of fake information. And I'd be and I wouldn't know about it until I was in this interview and they're asking me all these questions. And I was like, I've never done this before. And so after getting through that, I actually started applying to different development jobs though, and got my first one at this health tech company. I was so nervous, got there. It was like, everybody's going to know way more than me. I shouldn't be here. And then I ended up within 2 weeks, I had their highest efficiency rate. I had completed 100 tickets and then no one's ever done that at the company before. And so my manager had sent me home early that Friday. And, I was like, wow, so this is where I'm meant to be. This is amazing. I went from working at McDonald's at the beginning of that year to now making $80,000 at the end of the year. And, my mind was just blown. I was just so excited that I was able to accomplish this and teach this to myself. And then within 6 months, I have, Google, Facebook, and Amazon all in my inbox. I was being flown out to interviews, which I thought that was for some, CEOs, well, they'll fly you out. And so, but I was getting tickets. They're buying me plane tickets, getting flown out to interview. Nice hotels. The hotel they put you in has a little robot that brings your like toothbrush or whatever you need to. I was just like, wow, if I was able to do this though, think about all the other people who can too. All the other people who have these abilities, but their teachers told them they weren't smart enough either. Their teachers labeled them as bad simply because they didn't know how to handle that student. I couldn't cater to that student. So I was like, this is something that I can't keep to myself. I began working. It started off where I was just going to somehow teach software development. And that's all it was. And then as I started doing more research, I researched basically every organization I could find in the past. With W.D. Du Bois starting, NAACP to Huey Newton and the Black Panthers, Malcolm X and Martin Luther King Jr., I was researching everybody to see how did they help people? How were they able to do such amazing things? Once I finished that research, I had a great talk. I went to Afrotech, a big Black tech conference that they have in Oakland. I met Satiru Ned. He's a Black Panther. They did a speech, him and a couple of different Black Panthers. And so I got to go up and talk to them about the programs that they had in place to teach the community. And we just developed a great friendship. And he acted kind of as a huge mentor to me. He still does. An amazing person. Yeah. And so what happened from that basically is I was able to develop Empowr, where I teach software development, but then in this course, I give financial tips. In this course, I give, mental health tips to these kids. As mental health is something that, us as a community have always lacked. I give leadership skills. Yesterday, they had a talk with the CEO of, he got a couple different companies acquired. And he talked to them so much about the importance of reading, of building their personal brand. They get all these sort of life tips. They get mentors. One of my students, he's so ambitious, student Chase, he came and he now interns with me. And so I'm about to start giving him some contract work because he likes to learn ahead and do a lot. So these students are gaining what they would learn in college for software development while in high school. They are getting work experience by doing the internships. They get access to mentors. I just bought them some life leadership books so that they can learn how to be a leader. So that basically everything that they would have to learn in college is now being afforded to them in high school for free. And once they graduate this program, I also help them secure their careers in software development so that they can then, at the age of 19, if they choose not to go to college, if they choose to, can earn 6 figures just by graduating from our program. That helps end these poverty cycles in our neighborhoods. We make all the projects centered around the community so that they're also, they don't just look at the money. They also see how can technology be applied to my community? How can I use it to uplift all the people around me? And I truly see it's working. I think I had an awesome set of kids in the beginning, but yesterday, the CEO, Junior Gaspard, he asked them, what would you do with $8 million? And all of them just wanted to buy their family stuff. None of them said anything for themselves already. They were just like, I want to help those around me. That's all I really want to do. And I think they were pretty much like that before they entered the course. I think I had an excellent selection for this first class of students. But yeah, they're all learning so incredibly well. They're all so much smarter than me, which is just amazing to hope for. They're all definitely future world leaders. And, this is a skill they might not have developed had they ever had an opportunity, despite the fact that they're so amazing at it. They're picking it up just like that. We're blowing through lessons, I think it truly provides an opportunity to do so many things within the community. This is only the beginning. There's so much more planned for what to do with Empowr as this course goes on, as the curriculum is developed. And so I'm really excited to see, what's coming next.
Talk about the work you're doing with helping young people become developers.
Basically, I wanted to take the practical knowledge that you would gain in college and give it to children in high school. So our ideal target range is 9th and 10th grade. And basically what the program will do is we'll start, right now we do iOS development because kids like iPhones. And yeah, we'll start teaching them how do you build an iPhone app. And every year of their high school career, we'll continue to learn and to teach them different things. So let's say we started in ninth grader, joined the program. The first year they would learn how to build an iPhone app. The second year, what they would learn is more advanced toolkits, how to integrate with servers, with third-party SDKs, a lot of different technical stuff. By the third year, we want them to begin interning with different companies that we have deals with. So they'll start interning, meeting all these different businesses, possibly start doing small freelance contracts. And by fourth year, we're teaching algorithms and data structures. And so that this way, throughout the whole process, by the time they graduate, they can easily acquire a job at any big four tech company they want. But what we really encourage is entrepreneurship. Even if they do take the job at the big four, we're really hoping that they find their own ideas and try and make them happen as well. Because we need more Black tech companies. I don't think there's one Black CEO in the Fortune 500 or Black founded company in the Fortune 500 at all. So we need more Black tech companies. The future, people don't realize the future actually be really scary without having Black tech owners. What they're doing right now, especially with things like artificial intelligence, is one of the things they're doing is they're using it to predict criminals in a couple of cities, doing trial runs on that. Now, in a system that's already biased towards against Black people, Black males in particular, that's a very scary future when the data they're feeding this artificial intelligence is the same biased data. Then, our laws and, court cases, they'll have this AI helping determine the outcome of these cases. And there's no Black bias within it. So therefore, every case will end up being Black males being put into jail more and more, Black women being put into jail more and more. And so without having Black people helping and making these decisions along with the developers and the companies, the system will only actually get worse. But because few people really understand AI and the things going on in that world, few people are even aware of these issues.
Adrian, tell me that aha moment that you knew your business was going to be successful.
Oh, wow. So I did and I didn't. So really, the reason I say I did was because I prayed about it. I just prayed about it a lot and I kept getting back a yes. So I knew, okay, I'm just going to keep praying what's the next step. And I know it will be successful. At the same time, I'm still nervous. I'm still like, I got to get this right. I'm still like, I got to find more sponsors. I got to find more opportunities. I got to do this and that for these children. I put in my 40 hours a week at work and I put in my 40 hours a week with Empowr. I'm constantly working to try and see what more I can offer the kids. So even now, I'll be like, man, I'm not doing enough. I got to make sure this works. But I know that as long as I keep praying, keep following the messages I receive back, then it truly will be successful.
Tell us what you're most grateful for now in your life.
What I'm most grateful for now, in addition to, family and just being afforded the life I live, really is just the opportunity to help people. I think even as a child, I knew I wanted to help people. When I was really young, I wanted to be a superhero. Wanted to help people, wanted to save the world. Now I realize I can jump in a barrel of toxic waste, but I won't develop superpowers. But I can really try and help as many people as I want, as possible. And so that's something that really does help me go to sleep at night, is just knowing that I'm in a position where I can do that.
Let's talk about raising capital. How did you raise capital to fund your business?
So this first year has actually all been funded with my own money. I just saved up. I kept saving since I would say, my first year as a developer, when I first went from McDonald's to making a great developer's salary, I didn't really save. I won't lie. I wish I had known more about finances. But then I met my one of my cousins. Me and her grew close, and she was constantly giving me financial tips. And so I was like, you know what? I got to start saving to actually make this happen. So I just put in my own money into this. It has its own bank account that I was just throwing money into every paycheck until I was able to afford it, getting all the laptops, getting the equipment, software licenses. Then I had to teach myself all the legal aspects of a 501c3 because I couldn't afford a lawyer to do it for me. So I didn't want to spend the money, to be honest. I couldn't afford it. I was cheap. So this first year has been completely self-funded. Now I'm having meetings with a couple different donors and companies who are looking to sponsor and give money. But I actually kind of like the whole grassroots aspect, working with the community and what the community feels. I feel like people put their money behind what they believe in. I know it helps me know I'm doing good if people are donating. Of course, I have a sustainability plan that to try and make the nonprofit able to fund itself, but I kind of like this grassroots thing.
What can we do right now to support your business?
Yeah, that's a great question. One of the best things that can be done to support is truly just sharing on social media. Asking, like sharing the link, sharing the program, sharing the articles you see us in, sharing this podcast right here, and just sharing it with all your friends and having them share it too. That's one of the best things you can do. In addition, using Empowr News, the app, it helps bring it, it offers you the news, but, we have links in the settings page to help people bring attention to what we're doing. And also, of course, if you have the opportunity to, a donation always goes a long way. We use that to get the kids laptops to fund talks. And once this pandemic is over, the kids will be doing tours of different tech organizations. So there's a lot of different things that money will go towards that's all centered around the kids.
For kids to get involved in the learning, is it all online or do they have to be located in Atlanta?
Actually, I did it online. The original plan was for this to be in schools. I wanted it to be as accessible as possible to as many students. And I knew some kids have to babysit after school and they can't do something. Some kids go straight to work to help out with their family. It was originally planned to be in school, but due to the pandemic, we were launching just as the pandemic happened. So we were in talks with schools and then silence because the schools were scrambling. They had to figure out, what are we about to do? So I was like, I cannot wait another year. So I just put it online. I said, I'm just going to do this online. I currently like this. It allows me to be flexible. We're going to do online. We're still going to work with schools once things settle down to be in the school system as well. So we can be as open to many kids as possible. But they can just go on our website and they can sign up and they can take these online courses. We provide the laptop. We provide all the tools. They just need a good internet connection.
Adrian, what problem exists in the world today that you would like to solve?
I believe it's just a multi-step process for me. What I want to solve is to help in, the systemic oppression of all people, really. And that first starts with education. And once, you give education, then comes, the financial stability. And once you have the financial stability, then that's when you can actually start talking to people about what community means and what mental health means. Before that, it's hard to talk to someone who's hungry about what community means because their goal is hunger. It's hard to talk to someone who's trying to figure out how they're going to pay the next bill about community because they need to worry about how they're going to survive. And so first, it's helping people achieve those goals. And then once you have their ear, then you can talk to them about community and mental health and, giving back and things like that. I wish to go through all those steps with Empowr.
Advice you wish you had followed?
I wish I paid more attention on how I learned because I didn't do well in the school system. I didn't have great sets of teachers besides my 8th grade math teacher. She was amazing. But I didn't have great sets of teachers. I never got the opportunity to learn how I learned. I didn't learn by just listening to a teacher talk at me for an hour. I just didn't do well. But once I learned how I learned, I realized there's literally nothing I can't do. I wasn't stupid, or bad as the school system kind of labeled me. And so now I know whatever I want to do in life, I can achieve it. All I need is information. And thankfully in today's age, information is at your fingertips. So that's one of the most crucial things for me for anybody to learn.
Let's talk about listening. What is that resounding sound and that message that your generation is saying we should hear and listen to?
I think it's coming in a lot of different words, but the real concept is just freedom. Our generation is wanting real freedom to be who we want, freedom to express ourselves. We just want to be able to truly live who we are. As long as it's not hurting anybody else, that's all anybody's asking for with these movements. That's all Black Lives Matter is. That's all the LGBTQ community wants. That's all every oppressed people just really wants is the freedom to be themselves and to live their lives and to have expression, to have a voice. Yeah, I think it's honestly it's a beautiful thing about how it's coming to be. I look at, sometimes how my parents, how they grew up. Freedom to them was being alive. That was it. I'm alive, so I'm free. It didn't mean, that they could access the same places, the same buildings as people of other colors. It didn't mean that they would have the same opportunities. It just meant being alive. But we regress to the point where it's like, yeah, I'm alive, but that doesn't mean I'm free. And so I want my freedom. And I think it's a pretty amazing, the kind of awakening that's being spread across the world about what freedom is and what people want and how people should be treated.
Let's talk about give and get. What do you want to get and what do you want to give?
That's a hard question. I don't think I spend enough time thinking about that. I consider myself kind of someone, I believe my life was meant to serve people. That's what I believe my purpose here is to do, is to be a man of the community. I guess I do hope at the end of my life, people will have a good look at me and be, and know who I am. And just have, like, he was a good person. He tried his best always to do what was right for people. And so I guess that's what I want to get. I kind of want to give everything. I want to give more than I was ever given. I feel like I was given a lot of blessings in life, and I just want to make sure they're returned tenfold. I want everybody to be able to have the opportunities I was afforded to. So I have to pass down my knowledge. One of the greatest things that I ever got to experience was a talk about us being living ancestors. I wish I could remember the woman's name who gave the talk. She basically gave a talk about we are the ancestors right now that our future children will be talking about. And so what legacy do we leave behind for them? What will they say about us? And so I think that's something to really think about every day, and something I really do think about as I go throughout my day and give my reflections before I go to bed at night.
Adrian, I want you to have a monologue. I want you to name the person that you're talking to. And this person has given you such profound advice, and they just really touched your life. In this monologue, what would you say to that person, and who is that person?
That's a pretty amazing question. So I would say I wouldn't choose anybody that's around, because I really do try and tell everyone, that I meet how I feel about them. So I would say it would probably be a monologue towards Huey Newton. Reading his book, To Die for the People, it had so many concepts in it, And so I was reading, he had this chapter it was about basically meeting the people where they're at. So many people they basically learn something or acquire some skill or financial wealth, and they say they're trying to uplift people, but really they're talking down to them. And he was like, meet the people where they're at. What do the people want? What are they telling you they need? And I don't know, that was just to me, that was such an amazing thing just to kind of hear. It sounds so simple, but then when you look around in the world, I don't really see that. Reading those words, it made me analyze not just what I wanted to do with Empower, but everything that I was doing in life. Am I meeting the needs of those around me at all aspects? Am I meeting the emotional needs of my girlfriend? Am I meeting, the needs of my parents? Am I meeting the needs of my sister, my brother? Am I meeting the needs of my community when I'm doing everything? When I'm walking through my life, I look at each person now and try and figure out, am I meting their needs as well? And that was just having that sort of conscious effort to think about those kind of things really changes how you kind of view life and view other people, because it forces you then to think about this person as not just an extension of your life, but as, having their own life, and you're an extension of theirs as well. And so you have to go about and try and understand this person in a different way. And so it was kind of a simple sentence he had in a speech he had given that was written in a book, but it truly impacted my life in a pretty big way. It was something I really meditated on for quite some time. And so that bit of wisdom that may have been so simple to him was just life-changing to me.
That's some real talk. So, Adrian, what are your needs and who's meeting your needs?
Yeah, so my needs, I wouldn't say I have too many needs. I'm a pretty simple person. I just need alone time, I guess. I'm pretty heavily introverted despite trying to do all these things. But so I just need my decompressed time, some gardening time. I love some gardening. And and yeah, some wine. And so my girlfriend, she definitely helps me meet all my needs. And she also helps me understand myself more. And that's a constant need of mine. A lot of things people don't know about me as well is, I think they call it autism level 1 now. Lots of the social aspects are things I had to learn. So I just didn't get it. And as a kid, it came off as really like blunt and rude because I was just so naive. And so like I had to learn a lot of social things, a lot of the how do you talk to people? When is this appropriate to say? Things like that. And also just reading people. And so she helps me with that as well. So that way I can better understand myself and others. But
thank you for being so authentic and sharing that very personal information about you. We appreciate that.
of course.
Adrian, there are so many brands and businesses that are dominating. Talk about a brand or a business that's dominating that you admire and why.
That one's pretty hard. So I would say one brand that no one's yet aware of because it's about to launch that's going to dominate is Empowr. That's a pretty amazing one. It's a whole concept about, I met this woman a couple of years ago who was incentivizing volunteering. That one hits home a lot for obvious reasons. It gets people involved in the community. And it's for all children, but it's centered around also a lot of our community. A big brand, I guess, like a household name that's dominating and I admire, I guess would be a Square and Twitter. Household names for what they do. And I would say the reason I admire them is basically for their internal structure. They're actually they're really diverse and care a lot about the diversity of their employees, which is really rare for the tech industry. Tech pretends to be forward thinking, but it's really not. Once you get inside, it's more of, we want to hire more Black people for our photographs, but it's not, we want to hire more Black people because they are who they are and allow them to bring their culture to work, which Square and Twitter do. For other household names, I can't really say, but I will say there's a lot of, these people probably have companies that are dominating, and I'm just not aware of the company names, but Megan Thee Stallion is someone I've really come to respect recently for her talks about the strength of Black women and what they must go through and how, how long they've been, us Black men, we haven't done enough. I'm sure she has a whole company that's doing really well, but I only know her as, her from what she talks about. And I would say that's one of the things that I really, really respect her. So I would say, I guess that would be my answer for that question.
Talk about your most memorable moment in life or business.
I would say for business, it would be when I was touring the offices of Facebook. They had flown me out and I was touring their offices and I was just looking around. I couldn't count any Black people. I think I may have seen some people in HR, but it's this huge office. It's multi-levels, huge building in Seattle, Washington, amazing views, all these other things. I couldn't find any Black people at all. And I was just distraught. I was like, nobody, y'all couldn't find anybody. This doesn't make sense. I just came from I was working at a health tech company when I was touring their office. Like 1 in 3 people I counted were Black. But these big companies, they'll also be like, we can't find anybody. And it's like, you're not hiring them. Yeah, that was really eye-opening from a business perspective. My most eye-opening experience in life, though, was a situation I shouldn't have put myself in. Me and my mom, we went to Egypt. Every night I was going out and I was just exploring the town, right? There was a girl I liked at the time, so I went to this one store and I was trying to buy her perfume. And so, an Egyptian perfume. And so I just started hitting off with the store clerk. We're talking. He told me his name's Adam. I know it wasn't Adam. Yeah, so we just started talking and he was like, hey, you want to hang out? And so we would hang out. We would have a couple drinks, at his place or whatever. And we would just talk. And I just remember like most of the time they just had the news on at background. It was this place he said he shared with like 10 other people. They were all at work at the time. So we would just have a good time talking. He would tell me about his Egyptian culture. I told him I lived in Italy. So he thought I was Italian. Swore that he knew I was American because I didn't really speak Italian. But yeah, I guess he just thought I was Italian still. I just remember Lupe Fiasco's Daydreaming was playing on the TV. And he's talking about he started talking about America. And so he started talking about how much he really hates it. And, he was just like, it doesn't make sense. This country is so hateful. All they want to do is come over here and kill everybody I know. He's like, they killed my friends, blah, blah, blah. And he's going on. And he just says he wished everybody from America would just die. And I was shocked. I was like, I've drank with this dude, like, not like for, I think like 3 nights already, been over here. We had conversations. Never would have guessed he harbored such anger in him. He was just so relaxed, so calm, so upbeat. If I wasn't smiling at the time, he was like, come on. Like, he was like, you got to be happy. You got to be happy. You're enjoying life. I was like, how could you say that? Like, I'm American. You're sitting here and you're saying that right now. And he was just beyond that I was American. And he was like, well, maybe it's not Americans, but at least the Christians. I was like, okay, that's also what I am. And he just didn't understand. And so he explained that, you flip into the news channels, when they show in America, they showed angry white, radical, extremely conservative, radical Christians that were, saying such horrible things about them. And, he experienced death due to it. It was just so eye-opening to me because, at the same time, at that time, especially here in America, it was the same views about them. Oh, those over there, they're terrorists, things like that. And I was like, both sides are being fed the same misinformation about each other, and it's breeding all this hate. And I was like, this guy, he's sitting here listening to Lupe Fiasco, doesn't even know he's American, just knows he's Muslim, doesn't even understand that you can be Muslim and American. But, he's being radicalized because of just the information that's being fed. And so it made me realize that nobody's getting the real picture out here. Everybody's just looking at what they grew up looking at, the news station they grew up looking at. And so they're only having that one way of thinking. But if they experience the world, if they at least decided, let me look at what other information says and let me open my mind to it, they could really see that, the world isn't this hateful place. Me and him were having a great time. And then he realized this. And even then, I still went out and hung out with him. That was probably dangerous. But I did feel like I could trust him. He was such a nice person and treated me so well. I mean, he was showing me all these different Egyptian cultures. I was able to ask him anything I wanted. And he gave me great answers, introducing me to his friends, stuff like that. Yeah, that was something my mom was obviously not aware of. She thought I was just walking around the town to explore things. But that was just a life-changing experience for me to see how both sides are always kind of being played. And that the only way to get the real story is to put yourself in the middle and listen to the information on both sides, listen to the argument on both sides, and to be able to decipher the truth from that.
Adrian, what is the best decision you made as a leader?
I think was to reimagine what leadership was. When we view leaders on TV and things like that, they make all the decisions. They're making executive decisions left and right. But instead of doing that, I try and make it so you tell me what you need, and all I do is just get it done. And that's what I believe leadership is supposed to be. I mean, even when we look at our current government, it's for the people. It's meant to serve the people. And so I believe that's what leadership is supposed to be, where, the leader is actually just someone who's just listening to the information, is like, okay, this is what you need done. I can go do it for you. I think that's my best decision as leadership. It even helped me just change the course, our current course for Empowr, and adapt it more to the students. As we just did, I did a review with all the students and their parents, and they gave great feedback on ways that, listening to the students, learning more about them, I was like, oh, I'm not serving your needs completely right now. So let me go and do what you need me to do to be better for you. I think that's the best thing that I've learned and best decision I made, a personal growth decision.
What book would you recommend and why?
So the book I would recommend, I would say, is definitely, I mentioned it before, To Die for the People by Huey Newton. I know he had some radical political views that not everybody agrees with, but that's not the point. I think everybody can learn because his talk of community is so spot on, and you also learn it wasn't, lots of people only know him and the rest of the Black Panthers as being, walking with their guns and meaning to be military leaders, but that's not what they were about. And when you read the book, you get to learn that, and when you read the book, you learn that it's more about service and just, wanting fairness for everybody. And so his thought process on a lot of things it's just amazing to read. His analysis, he has an analysis of a movie that was amazing to hear. So that would be the book I say I would recommend everyone read, whether you believe in the political views or not. I think that'll be an eye-opening experience.
What do you see as the next level for Empowr over the next 5 years?
So in 5 years for Empowr, where I see us is I see us being integrated a lot into the school systems, having Empowr courses directly taught throughout the school day. I believe that's the best way to kind of reach people. That's where I would like to see us. I would like to see our students also being directly sponsored, having their high school internships after class at these different companies that are sponsoring their education through Empower. And I believe that way, these kids are coming out and you're seeing lots of them starting their own companies. I believe at that time, I want, Empower students to have started a couple different companies at this time and gain more in education. That's where I see Empower going in the next 5 years.
How do you stay fit mentally and physically, Adrian?
Physically, I have right here next to me, I have my workout bench and dumbbells, and I definitely bought some really nice dumbbell sets. And basically, I work out every morning. I have a treadmill desk here. You can buy like the little bottom half of the treadmill and a little standing desk. And so I'll just walk while I work. Mentally, I am huge into different herbs. So I have like 10 different teas right now sitting on my table that I just ordered, and I meditate. I think that's probably the best thing that I ever learned was meditation. A lot of people try it and then they're like, I can't get my mind to turn off. That's not always the point. And it's just like working out physically. You got to practice that. You got to keep doing it every day. You never start off great, but it really lets you know, how do I accept my thoughts? It's not about controlling them. It's about accepting them. So maybe you have a negative thought. You can acknowledge it and decide not to dwell on it. You can process it and decide it won't ruin your day. And so that's a pretty amazing thing I learned. And I like to take my different teas, like Blue Lotus, Moulane, different little things to help out.
Adrian, if you conducted this interview, what is the one question you would have asked yourself? I want you to ask the question and answer it.
Okay, I guess the one question I probably would have given myself a softball would be, so why do you do it? Why do I do it? Is simply because I think Dr. Saturn had put it best when he said, it just must be done. And that's the real reason someone had to do this. And I understood that and I saw it. And so therefore I just had to do it and get this accomplished. I had to do something to help in these poverty cycles, help in, the lack of opportunity, the educational disparity in our system. I mean, it's almost 50% of African-American students in school don't have access to the math and science classes to even go to college. They won't get accepted into college because they don't even have access to the classes. Their school doesn't teach calculus and things like that. When your school doesn't even teach it, how are they ever supposed to get to college? And the focus is always on, oh yeah, their kids aren't going to college. Black kids aren't going to college. Why is that? But they know what. And then they'll be like, oh, there's a leak in the education pipeline. What I like to say is there's no leak in the pipeline. The pipeline wasn't designed for us. The pipeline is working as intended. If you don't have a calculus class in a majority Black school, then of course, there's no way they can learn this to get to college. If you don't have physics and chemistry in those classes, there's no way they can learn it to get to college, to get these degrees. And they're simply not funded. They're not given the opportunity. They're not given the resources that they need to be able to have these classes. The teachers aren't paid well. The school doesn't have money to get the books, to get the training for the teachers to teach this. So it's really unfortunate that the system's even set up that way. But I realized that I can't keep asking for someone to come in and help when it still hasn't come. So those of us who had access to these classes, had access to this knowledge, to come back and teach it.
We've come to the part of our interview. It's called Fun Facts Lightning Round. I'm going to ask you a series of questions, and I'd like you to give me very quick answers. If there's something you desire not to answer, feel free to say pass. Are you ready for the Fun Facts Lightning Round?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Your first job?
Pizza Hut.
Your favorite color?
Purple.
The last movie you saw?
Ma Rainey's Black Bottom.
Your favorite singer or rapper?
Nas and Erykah Badu.
Your favorite dance song?
I can't dance.
What food you eat every week, no matter what?
Sushi.
Your favorite month?
May. Not too hot, not too cold.
Workout or hit the couch?
It's got to be both. I feel bad if I don't work out every day, but I definitely need my video game time.
Adrian, thank you so much for joining us on Black Entrepreneur Experience Podcast. Before we let you go, share with our audience the best way for them to connect with you and do business with you. And feel free to give all your social media handles.
Yeah, definitely. So the best way is to go onto our website, go to the contact us. It goes directly to my email. So I check it multiple times a day. So I'll definitely be able to get back to you in that way. You can also message us on Facebook, which is Empowr.org is our Facebook handle. We have Instagram, which is Empowr Co, Twitter and LinkedIn, which are all Empowr Co. You can follow us on there. I don't really use social media except for LinkedIn. So I'm more active on there. So you can actually shoot me a LinkedIn message and I will reply as well.
Thank you, Adrian. That's a wrap.
All right. Thank you so much for even just having me on here. This has been a really fun experience, especially as my first podcast. I was so nervous, but this has been a great experience and I feel really blessed to be here.
Thank you. Our guests have sent us so much swag, books, and giveaways this year. I can't wait to announce our monthly winner. So if you want exclusive content delivered right to your inbox and to enter into our monthly drawing, go to drfrancisrichards.com and subscribe to our mailing list. That's drfrancisrichards.com. drfrancisrichards.com. That's drfrancisrichards.com and subscribe to our mailing list. We promise we will not spam you or sell your information.
Thank you for listening and subscribing to Black Entrepreneur Experience. We would love for you to leave a review and rating on iTunes and share with your friends. For show notes and more episodes, go to www.beepodcast.com. Join us next Wednesday, and remember, green is the new black. So keep your bank accounts and your business in the black.